It is Friday, September 22nd, 2023. This is another edition of Baseball Today. That is not my man, Trevor Plouffe. Instead, it is Steven Brault. I am Chris Rose, producer Dan along for the ride as well. Talk about upgrading in the looks community with my co-host, Steven Brault. Welcome to Baseball Today.
Okay, first of all, thank you, but I think Plouffe really has that really nice rugged look thing going, and I think it really works for him. So I'm not going to say I think I'm better looking. Definitely not. Uh, I've really enjoyed your guys' show. I've listened to Baseball Today a lot. I'm very happy to be a part of it. I'm excited. Let's talk baseball.
Awesome. So before we get to our 5 questions, we always start with a tip of the cap. And for that, it is you, my friend, as you have officially retired from Major League Baseball. Did you turn in your papers yet?
Turned in my papers. No, you know what I did? I just I went kind of told everybody that I knew, and MLB Network was, nice enough to let me go on there on intentional talk and say some things and, be
Don't know a
retired
thing
and all
about it,
that stuff.
actually. Haven't
Yeah,
heard of it.
exactly. Yeah. So it is weird. It's very different, but I've been trying to say this. It's not even bittersweet, honestly. I love baseball to the ends of the earth, but I was hurt for 3 years and I was hurt all season again, but I was trying to fight through it the whole time. So I'm ready. I'm done, and I'm excited to move into, this side of baseball. So I appreciate it. I loved it. I had a great career. I'm very proud of what I was able to accomplish, and I'm only 31 years old. I got lots of life to live, so I'm excited.
A lot of runway. By the way, just show everybody on our YouTube side of things what shirt you're wearing.
Oh yeah, this is the team I played for this year, the Spire City Ghost Hounds,
It's awesome.
which is a crazy name, but we were actually the Frederick question marks to start the season. We wore question mark jerseys and a question mark hat.
Mm-hmm.
And then halfway through the year, we changed to this team because it's a new team in that Atlantic League. And it was really fun. I met a lot of great guys. I played as a position player, had some good days, some bad days. But I mean, getting to that side of baseball again was amazing.
Well, now you're on this side of baseball. We appreciate you being here, not only today, but Monday as well. But let's get it going. The reason I'm wearing the Seattle Mariners cap is because they are involved in the biggest series of the weekend. Seattle at Texas. Both are a half game behind Houston in the West. They share that third wild card, also a half game behind Toronto for the second spot. What will be the biggest headline when we return to work on Monday after that 3-game set?
All right. So my biggest headline is that those three starting pitchers who are going for the Mariners against the Rangers this weekend, and that is we're starting with Bryce Miller, then we've got Logan Gilbert, then we've got Brian Wu. Okay, three guys that are all under 26. I think Logan Gilbert's the oldest at 26, and both Miller and Wu are in their first season as a big leaguer. All three of them have pitched against the Rangers once this year. Logan Gilbert took a perfect game in the seventh. Both Wu and Miller gave up 6 runs in 2 innings. Okay. So my biggest headline is the Seattle Mariners young starting pitching is going to do it. They're going to beat them. I don't know if they're going to sweep, but I think they're going to keep this offense down low enough that it gives the Mariners a real chance. I've been watching the Mariners a lot. I think they're the most interesting team in baseball right now. And not only that, their finishing schedule is the coolest finishing schedule you could possibly ask for. It's extremely stressful, but they've got the Rangers for 3, they've got Houston for 3, and then they've got the Rangers for 4. So they fully control their destiny, fully 100%. If they win most of these games, they are in the playoffs. And that is so cool. Oh my gosh. I wish I could have ever played that. This last week that they have as a team is going to be, oh my gosh, so cool. So that's my big story. I think all these pitchers have been doing really well recently. Logan Gilbert's a little bit shaky. He gave up 2 homers in each of his last 2 starts, but I think Bryce Miller, Logan Gilbert, Brian are going to get it done this weekend, and I think that will be our big headline.
Okay, very good. For me, this has been the story for the Texas Rangers for most of the season, that their bullpen stinks. And I'm really worried about it this weekend. And I know that it's kind of a played out narrative. And people are like, Rose, you're going to talk about it again. This is the most important time of the season. Okay. You have work to get back. You got kicked in the balls a couple of times with the Scherzer injury. And, they barely had Eovaldi here in the second half. I know he'll pitch this weekend against Seattle, but they haven't had the all-star Eovaldi, right, in the second half. When you play close games, it comes down to that pen. And if that door opens and you cannot trust the guy that's walking through there in essentially what is our bunch of playoff games, because that's what Austin Hedges, who will be our guest on the Rose rotation next week, told us. These games are playoff games. That's the way they see it. That's the way they're playing it. You're fucked. And just to go over some of the stuff, once again, the Rangers have the worst save percentage in baseball. I will repeat that. The worst in baseball. They have saved less than half of their save opportunities. They've converted less than half, 47%.
That's not ideal. I just
Not
want to
ideal.
put that out there. That's not what you want. Continue.
Okay, now you were a starter in your career, but you transitioned to the bullpen. I imagine there are times when guys aren't going well in a bullpen where they are like, please do not call my name when the phone rings. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. I think mostly you're going to get less of that. You're going to get more of, if you're going to be honest, you're going to get more of the rest of the team going, please don't throw that guy right now. You know what I mean? Where it's like, you got a guy coming in from the bullpen and his last 3 outings, he's given up a homer each time and you guys are up by 1 and everybody's like, okay, well, he's been our guy all season, but it's not like, oh, he's coming in like we're great because he's a great reliever. He's coming in and everybody's going, God, please do good. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think that's been the Rangers bullpen the whole season. God, please do good. And it's funny. We talked about missing Scherzer and Eovaldi being down. The Rangers are supposed to have DeGrom this year too. I mean, we easily forget he's been gone for so long. The Rangers have been playing so well, but I mean, I don't see them as powerful as the Mariners, for example. I think the Mariners are a very well-rounded team, and I really like watching them play. Their starters have been really, really good. Their bullpen is solid. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's solid. And then as far as their offense, I mean, their offense can hit the crap out of the ball. That's never going to be a problem. I really like watching them. If you got Ty France hitting 8th in your lineup, you got a pretty good lineup. I think they're doing really well. And I do have the Mariners getting to the playoffs. It's so hard to say who's going to win that division though, because the Astros are the Astros, man. They've done it. They've been there. They're probably going to do it again. This is just kind of what they do, and they do have a much easier schedule remaining than the rest of the team. So So we'll see what happens, but I really like that Mariners team a lot.
I would say this. We'll cap it with this. I think the Mariners take 2 out of 3, and I think in one of those games, the Texas bullpen blows it late. Maybe even giving up a late homer. We'll see.
Cool.
Let's move on to the Chicago Cubs. It was 2 weeks ago. They were firmly entrenched kind of right in the middle of the wild card standings. You were thinking, okay, Philly's in and the Cubs are going to be in, and who's going to be that last team in the National League? Well, now the Cubs are tied for 3rd heading into the weekend. Colorado comes to town. Then Chicago visits Atlanta and Milwaukee to finish off the season. What is your confidence level that the Cubbies will indeed snag one of those 2 final wild card berths in the National League?
Well, my confidence level is about 15%. I don't like them having to go play Atlanta and Milwaukee. Those teams, I'm sorry, they're just better teams than the Cubs are right now, and that's just the truth. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think the Cubs are a really good team. They're still my favorite personally for that 3rd spot. I'm not confident about it, but I do think that they're my favorite. I mean, they have a plus 91 run differential this year. The teams behind them, the Reds are at a minus 47. Who else we got? Miami's at minus 42. I mean, you've got a clearly overall better team in the Cubs than those other teams. But the other teams have much easier schedules. Miami's got Milwaukee, sure, but then they've got the Mets and they got Pittsburgh. But to be fair, I know what it's like playing in Pittsburgh at the end of the season. And we usually played pretty well when you're playing spoiler. I don't know why, but it really seemed that way. And they have been. They beat up the Cubs again yesterday. They've been scoring a lot of runs. But then, Cincinnati has Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and St. Louis. Those are 3 losing teams that the Reds could genuinely do this. And I think they have a pretty good chance. And what's cool about that is that they are so young that you just have no idea. I mean, they could lose the rest of the games of the season and everybody would be like, well, their team is so young. Or they could win the rest of the games this season, go into the playoffs, and then it's just going to be like, nobody has any idea. Maybe they'll be great in the playoffs. Maybe they'll be terrible. But either way, for them getting to the playoffs would be huge to get that young core, that experience, basically give the confidence to the organization. We want to keep these guys. We want to build around these guys, and we want to win now because we got to the playoffs this year. So we want to sign the guys to win right now this coming season. So I think the Reds are probably the most interesting team in the offseason for me if they make the playoffs, because I think they're going to make some big moves. I don't see why they wouldn't. But I mean, Cubs, I don't know, man. It's tough.
Well, I think you got into a trap that a lot of us get into.
Okay.
You looked at the schedule.
I did.
Okay. Who did the Cubs just lose a series to?
The Pirates.
Who's the better team between those two?
The Cubs.
And it's really not close at this point of the year.
Correct.
That's the problem. We just stare at schedules. Now, what? Go ahead. What?
Well, I'm going to say I'm not staring at schedules. I believe that it is important to look at schedules for who's coming up, but also I believe I'm an old-timey baseball guy. When it comes down to it, especially in this last week, everybody's playing playoff baseball. It's weird to say what's going to happen. But I mean, if you're playing the Braves and the Brewers compared to playing Pittsburgh, Cleveland, and St. Louis, it still gives you a harder time to get there. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying it's impossible.
Understand it, right? I would much rather face Will Brennan than Ronald Acuna.
Right.
I understand all of that. I tend to look at how you're playing right now. Over the last 2 weeks, the Cubs are 3-10. They have not won a series. They've lost 2 to Arizona. Forget there's one other one in the middle, and then they lost to Colorado and they lost to Pittsburgh. So they lost to 2 of the worst teams in the National League, and now they can play Colorado this weekend. God knows what's going to happen. Like, what happens if Colorado puts a 3 spot up in the first on Friday afternoon at Wrigley? You don't think those fans are going to be puckered up? Of course they are. So my confidence level in them, although I think they're the most talented team out of this group that's fighting for the bottom wild card spots, I'd put it at probably 20%. I'd put it a little higher than you, but not much. Not much. Anyway, over the last 2 weeks, here's how it's gone. The Cubs 3-10. Arizona over that same span is 9-4. The Marlins are 8-6, and the Reds are a 500 team at 6-6.
Hey, I trends of how they're playing are very useful and helpful, but I watched the Cubs game last night and the day before, and in my mind, those guys have every bit of fight in them, and they are coming back in these games when they're getting beat by a lot or they're giving it up right at the end of the game. Their bullpen has been their biggest struggle recently, with Brad Boxberger and Brandon Mayweather both giving it up yesterday.
Yep.
Because they should have won that game. And their offense did what they had to do to come back, and they just couldn't. The bullpen couldn't hold it, but they did add Stroman in the bullpen, and he's had 2 outings out there and he's done well. I think there's a possibility that guy, he might end up being a big part of that bullpen, and I think that would help a lot. Because talk about confidence through the roof. Marcus Stroman is the perfect guy to have closing out games in the playoffs or in playoff-like baseball, if you ask me.
Right.
So I think that is going to be a change that they might have to make because they need to win right now. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But yeah, 15%. I'm not super confident. I want them to do it, though.
All I can tell you is this. It's going to be a fun last week and a half. And that's good for all of us baseball fans out there. All right, question for you. How do you sleep at night? Are you a good sleeper?
I'm a decent sleeper. Yeah, I would say so.
Okay. Well, if you need a little assistance, I think I've got the perfect remedy for you. Everybody knows that I am a shitty sleeper. I am looking for all sorts of things. So I have made the move to Miracle Made. This is a thing that is inspired by NASA. It uses silver-infused fabrics, makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. As you can tell with my body mass, I am overheating all the time. So I like that this thing will cool me down. What's some of the neat stuff about this? It's self-cleaning, and it's designed for your skin. These sheets are infused with silver that prevent up to 99.9% of bacterial growth, which can clog your pores. It allows them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than usual sheets. And Miracle sheets are luxurious. They're comfortable, and they don't have the high price tag of other luxury brands out there. So what do we want you to do? We want you to try miracle.com/today. That means you're going to try Miracle Made sheets. And whether you're buying them for yourself or as a gift for somebody else, if you order today, you can save over 40%. Now, if you use the promo code today at checkout, in addition to that, you're going to get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. We want to save you money. We want to get you your sheets. We want to get you 3 free towels on top of everything else. Miracle is so confident in the product. It's backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So if you aren't 100% satisfied, you're going to get a full refund. No harm done. So upgrade your sleep with Miracle Made. Go to trymiracle.com/today. Use the code today to claim your free 3-piece towel set. Save over 40%. Again, that is trymiracle.com/today. Treat yourself and sleep so well. All right, we continue on here on baseball today. Braves moving closer to that 1 seed. In the meantime, Ronald Acuna just continues to put up ridiculous numbers. He became the first player in 16 years to notch the 140 runs scored in a season column. Acuna's had a very, very good career, and he's still only 25. But do you think that Acuna will consistently be an MVP candidate the way that Mike Trout was every one of the first 10 years of his career? Or do you feel like this is the peak and he'll just be a really good player from this point forward?
So I was looking at, comparing the stats between Trout and Acuna and kind of how the beginnings of their careers have gone. I just want to throw out there, just in case anybody's curious, if you want to see the best start to a career, the first 10 years, go look at Albert Pujols, just in case you don't know. He puts both of these guys to shame, honestly. But
wow.
Yeah, but I think what Acuna and Trout have in common is that they both started very, very young. Trout made his debut when he was 19, Acuna when he was 20, and it's a really good time to start as a good player. When you start really young, you can have those kind of failures for those guys where they have a season where they hit maybe 260 and everything gets better. That's the difference, is that the seasons get better as the player gets older. And Acuna's been doing that. This is by far his best season. His average, his OPS is still right up there above 1. He hit another triple yesterday, which is stupid because you can't steal bases if you hit triples. But he's let's see, I was looking at this yesterday. In order to have the kind of MVP status every year that Trout had, Acuna is going to have to do it a little bit differently. The thing that I think will help him is the bases being the bases being bigger, and the 2 pickoff rule. So Acuna can get a lot more stolen bases, and that is going to pad his stats because stealing bases is almost easy for him now with these bigger bases and the pickoff rule and everything. So in my mind, looking at Acuna's stats getting better, he's been an all-star every year, just like Trout was. He is going to continue. I don't think he's going to hit 337 every year, but his career averages, he's a 291 with 39 homers and a 920 OPS. I mean, that's pretty much MVP candidate seasons every year, depending on how other people in the league do. But man, if you throw in that 60 steals a season too, if he keeps that going, it's going to be hard to say no.
So a couple of years ago, when the Braves won it all and Acuna blew out his knee midway through the season, he was on his way to having an MVP-ish season. And when I say ish, that means you're going to finish in the top 5 for me. He's only done that once in his career. And I think it's somewhat surprising, to be honest with you. I do think, right, he's either finishing 1 or 2. I'm going to guess 1 this year, but who knows? It's 1 or 2, whatever it is, between he and Mookie. The only issue I see going forward, and this is the fault of the people who vote for the MVP, in my opinion. You see what somebody does, and now Ronald Acuna has set the bar way up here. He went from really good seasons to an astronomical season across the board. Not only homers, not only stolen bases, his strikeout percentage has gone from one of the worst in baseball to now one of the best in baseball. Really, really good stuff. Maybe he wasn't one of the worst, but he was a consistent, right, over 100 strikeout guy, or he would always be on pace even during shortened seasons.
So is Trout, though. I mean, Trout's always been that guy too. It's always been the knock on Trout is like, oh, he struck out 3 times yesterday, and you're like, yeah, but he in the series he went 6 for 14 and had 2 homers and had 4 walks, and it's like, bro, he's still Trout. He's going to strike out. I don't care about that.
I know, but the problem is that people do, and they'll see. I mean, Ronald Acuna might not strike out 85 times this year. I think he struck out 126. That is a 40 strikeout improvement. That is a huge, huge number for him. So let's say he reverts back to 120 strikeouts next year, and some of his numbers are down slightly. He has to almost continue to duplicate what he's done this season for people not to get numb to how good he was.
Well, it's going to happen anyway, Chris. Doesn't matter. We get numb to every great player once we get to see him all the time. We are so numb to Mike Trout. People say Bryce Harper's not even good because he's having a down year. That guy is so good at baseball and has been for so long. I think no matter what, if Acuna keeps doing what he's doing, the only thing that's going to happen is we're all going to kind of be like, oh, yeah, it's just Acuna doing great things again. The difference is that the Braves are in the media spotlight. They're the best team in the National League, debatable with the Dodgers. And like that's going to help. Trout was on the Angels. They don't never win. So it's like we kind of forget about Trout. I think with Acuna being in the forefront, I don't think we will. Also, he's probably the most exciting player in baseball. He's the most flashy player in baseball, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I think it's awesome. I love watching him play. I wonder what he did to get the strikeouts lower. Because when I watch him play, his swing is so flat and through the zone for so long that it makes sense he wouldn't strike out much. But I mean, I don't know what he did. I don't know what adjustment he made, but it is clearly working.
Real quickly, 10 seconds. Did he click you or not? Did he hit a homer off you?
No, I don't think he ever did. You know what he did do though? Quick story. Uh, Before a game, Ronald Acuna was leading off, scouting report. Hey, don't throw him left-handed changeups. He has like a 900 OPS against left-handed changeups. Okay, sounds good. Game starts. 2-2 count. Foul ball, foul ball, foul ball, foul ball. Fastballs and sliders. Fastball. Foul. I'm throwing it. Changeup. Double off the right field wall.
Somebody didn't read their scouting report well enough.
Oh no, I did. I just got to the point where I was like, oh, I have to throw it. I have to throw it. He's seen everything else. He's fouling everything off. Whack. I felt really stupid, but he's incredible. I mean, and the funny thing is, I just noticed yesterday, he is not the skinny small guy that I remember him as. He's put on some weight. He's looking big. And that's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you saw him when he was 20. He's now 25.
I know.
By the way, I've put on some weight too.
Well, I think I'm actually getting smaller, just slowly disappearing.
All right, Yankees beat the Blue Jays to move a game above 500. Now, New York is trying to keep a streak alive in which they have finished without a losing record every year since 1992. Here's Aaron Boone on that before Thursday's win.
It's an impressive streak, but I don't even want to get ahead of myself as far as what it all means or whatever. This season, we came in with championship aspirations. So, short of that, it's kind of like,
Should this be celebrated or not?
Yeah, I actually really didn't like that press conference myself. If I'm the manager there, or if it's and my team has been winning for 30 years, do you really want to be the manager that manages the team that ruins that streak? I get it. We all wanted to win a championship at the beginning of the season. That's how it always works. That should be the goal. You should be trying to do that. That is not realistic anymore. That's over. So at this point, everybody needs to have a goal to get to the end of the season anyway. Most of the time that goal is playing spoiler, which kind of sucks because you're kind of spiteful. You're kind of like, yeah, beat them. Suck it. Now you're not making the playoffs. Like that doesn't really do anything for you. But if you have a real goal, a real useful and important goal, that is great for a team. I think the Yankees beat up the Blue Jays yesterday, which they really needed after losing the first two games of that series. But I really do think that the Yankees should care about this. And I think the Yankees fans should care about this. And I think the baseball world should care about this. 30 seasons. It's the third longest of all time, right? I mean,
in North American sports.
Exactly. There's an NHL team that did it from the 50s to the 80s.
Montreal
Canadiens. And it was the Yankees. The Yankees have the longest one. So in my opinion, yes, it is important. And it's okay to state that. It's like he wanted to make sure that people didn't think that it's okay not to win a championship. I agree. You should be frustrated. The season did not go well. However, at this point in life, this is what the situation is, and I do think it's important. And if they do it, I'm not saying it's celebrated like they should have a huge party and pop champagne and stuff, but I'm saying it is an important goal and they should strive toward it.
I think it's a cool streak. I just have too many friends that are Yankees fans who I mean, if they finish 80 and 82 as opposed to 82 and 80, the season is still the same for them.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get to the playoffs, and we still haven't won shit since 2009. That's the way they're going to look at it, and that's the way they should look at it. So I wouldn't say this is a streak that should be celebrated, but it should be appreciated. 3 decades of not having it go off the rails is important. And I say this with today's co-host, having played in Pittsburgh many, many years.
Yeah, I was playing spoiler every year, unfortunately. Yeah. And man, we went over 500 one time. And the reason we did was because we went 81 and 80 because we only played 161 games. That is how we went over 500. That was 2018. I still remember that. That was funny. But dude, I don't know why everybody needs something to get to the end of the season.
I get it.
And this is actually like a real thing, like a real goal. It's not just let's get to 500 because that would be fun. It's let's get to 500. Otherwise, we're going to be the team that blew this streak. And you don't want to be those guys.
I get it. But at the end of the day, the Yankees aren't going around saying, yes, fuck yeah, 83 wins. Nailed it. Nailed it. And I guarantee you this, there's not one Yankees fan who's like, well, at least we kept the streak alive. Right. I think it's something cool to have, but nobody is saying, all right, good. Maybe they're thinking the other way. If we have a losing record, it'll really kind of shake us to our core and say, well, we were just a few injuries away, and if Judge doesn't miss 6 weeks, and no. We're not going to play that game. We're not doing that.
I agree. But I mean, I think if you're a Yankees player and it's like you said, it should not be celebrated. But it should be important to you that you want to keep your team in this streak alive. And if they do it and then they break their own record 7 years from now, then this was very important. You know what I mean? So
I get
that's
it.
all.
And this one is brought to you by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. Things are heating up in the ballpark. Every team right now is playing to finish the season strong. We got the wild card, all sorts of stuff going on. They're all vying for the playoffs. With DraftKings Sportsbook, you won't miss a moment of the action. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball. Plus, all customers can take a crack at a sweet payday with DraftKings same-game parlays. String together multiple bets from a single game for your shot at a major payout. I love doing those. So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code BASEBALL today. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code BASEBALL today. The crown is yours. Gambling problem?
Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. Licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana. 21 plus. Age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. See DraftKings.com/baseball for eligibility. Terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply. I'll see you out there.
All right, 2 minutes to go on this one. Before the Yankee game, Stephen A. Smith went out and threw out the first pitch. One hopped it. Yankee Stadium. Got booed. As a guy who has seen a ton of first pitches in his time, you ever feel bad for people who have a poor first pitch performance?
Yeah, sort of, but not really. I mean, everybody knows you're just out there to have fun and it's funny and he bounced past it, whatever. I mean, it was still like kind of a strike. Maybe we should make that a rule that counts because it bounced into the zone from below. But I don't know. I don't feel bad. You can see him. He's laughing. He's smiling. He knows he screwed up a first pitch. Who cares? The funny thing is, I would love to do it in New York because I know if you screw it up, you get booed. And that is awesome. That is just enough pressure. You know what I mean? I think it'd be fun. But no, good for you, man.
Stephen A. said he choked. He was on the Yankees broadcast afterward. He's like, that was despicable. I choked. And at least I'm sure he's owning it and all that sort of stuff. So good for him. I can tell you, it's not easy to throw out a pitch in your hometown. I did it a decade ago in Cleveland, and I was so worried about it. I actually shot a piece for Intentional Talk. Nick Swisher was like, yo, bro, I'll catch you. And I was like, oh, okay. Look at where this thing ends up.
Oh, no. See, you yanked it. I mean, that's
yanked it.
Gosh, and bounced it. I mean, that's just worse than Stephen A. I'm sorry, man. It's just the way it is.
I had all the guys. I had Przynski, Derek Holland, Adrian Beltre. They're all yelling at me from the Rangers dugout, just yelling, "You suck, you piece of," like just letting me have it. And
Yeah,
it's
well,
tough.
I know. I mean, especially, I mean, if you got Derek Holland over there, that guy, he is a mental like warrior. He's just getting in your head. I love that guy.
Oh God Almighty, that was rough. That was rough. You know what was not rough? Your performance today. A++. Maybe some blue claps there in the AMP app for our man Steven Brault. Did you have fun today?
I loved it. This is what I want to do. So, I mean, not, you know what I mean? Like, I want to talk about baseball for my life. So I'm trying to practice. I love this. This is awesome. I really appreciate you letting me come on. It's
Absolutely.
So much fun.
You were so good you get to do it again on Monday. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Okay, awesome. For our one-of-a-kind producer, Dan Rourke, and the uber-talented Steven Brault, I am Chris Rose. We will see you Monday on Baseball Today.